We're going to switch it up for this episode and we're going to go on the hip-hop side and talk about the Drake versus Joe Budden feud. Now, some of you guys that have been following me now may be wondering, why am I speaking about this? And at the very first stage of my YouTube channel, I started talking about music and basketball simultaneously, but I kind of put the music on the back burner because it was the beginning of the year and it wasn't a lot of music that was coming out. So I focused on basketball. But now, as we are getting closer to the top of the year, right, the big artists are starting to come back. So I was just waiting on the big story to introduce back the music topic on the channel. So let's talk about this Drake versus Joe Budden. Basically, Drake put out his album for all the dogs, I want to say Friday. And I didn't like the album. And it felt like for the first time, the overall consensus was that the album was lackluster. Even when he put out Honestly Nevermind, it was very controversial. A lot of people, at least his fans, would still hide behind the fact that, it's a house album. Most of the listeners are hip-hop fans, so obviously they wouldn't like it. It's still quality. But for this album, I've yet to see a single person say that he liked the album, that it was one of Drake's best efforts, right? So Joe Budden, he took to his podcast. We all know that Joe Budden is very outspoken. And he pretty much reacted to the album from a fan's perspective. And the reaction actually reached out to Drake himself, who, as the sensitive man that he is, got triggered by another man's opinion and decided to react and to pretty much annihilate Joe Budden. So take a listen to what he had to say. I quote, "At Joe Budden, you have failed at music. You left it behind to do what you are doing in this clip because this is what actually pays your bills. For any artist watching this, just remember you are watching a failure giving their opinion on his idea of a recipe for success. A quitter gives their opinion on how to achieve longevity. You switch careers because the things that pop into your brain as you broke, living check to check, and the raps you write had 450 men showing up to your shows in dusty NEC jeans to screw up their face to Mood Music 29 and pretend you are the GOAT. Please, to any artist that's doing what they feel is right, don't let these opinions affect your mindset after the fact. This guy is the poster child of frustration and surrendering. You retired and we never hung up your jersey. We don't even remember your number. We know you for doing this. You withdrew from rap, not because you accomplished all you need to. It's because it wasn't working for you. I never want anybody in the generations to think that the whole everybody's entitled to their opinion is a real thing. This is a man projecting his own self-hate and the fact that he did and continue to do everything he wanted to do for himself. If you need it, put in simpler terms, I own the 767. He owns a modest house in the 973 and flies first class on special occasions." So y'all heard Aubrey, the man himself. And man, so he went crazy on Joe. So when I saw this, I was like, what in the hell did Joe Budden actually say to actually spark such a reaction out of Drake, right? So I pretty much condensed what he had to say about the album in this clip. So take a listen to what Joe had to say, and then we're going to come back and give our thoughts.
I miss the Drake that was rapping for the rappers. I miss the Drake that when he dropped, the rappers hit him. Not these little fucking kids. I don't give a fuck about you and Kai Cenat. That's going to sound like hate. It is. It's not hate. It's not hate. It is. It's not hate. Go find some niggas your fucking age. Hang out with them. Get some of that sauce.
That's not what keeps you. No, that's not what keeps you popping.
Fuck these kids.
That's not what keep you popping. And if that's the game he playing, I gotta play this game.
All the older niggas streaming music and buying it, Joe? No.
Dog, all that shit y'all saying for me applies to the field. I have long before called this nigga the golden child. Different set of rules apply.
Correct.
He's him. He is not one of them that y'all telling me about. I don't hold him there.
Dog, this album is going to be the most streamed album in Spotify history. Why?
When you that,
even if it ain't good.
When you that type of...
All right, so y'all heard Joe. So here's my thing. Both are kind of right, but I agree with Joe. Here's why. First of all, Joe Budden is not a Drake hater. He's really not. Joe Budden can be a hater of a lot of things, but if it's one guy that he does not hate at all, is Drake. If anything, I was getting tired of going to Joe to hear him talk about Drake because I was like, there's no way Joe Budden The guy that used to rap like he used to actually like the stuff that Drake has been putting out for the past 5 or 6 years. Even honestly, never mind. He came out and he was like, yeah, man, this shit's just too far away. This shit is for the guys that, travel. Just saying a bunch of stuff. I was like, just keep it real. If any other artist made this, you would not like this. So for Drake to actually view Joe as a hater, I know they had beef in the past, but that shit is buried long ago. That's just wrong. Plus, now let's get into what Joe had to say. So obviously, the delivery was clowning or whatever. But what he's saying, I agree 100%. Drake in his rant, that really sounded like he had put more thought into the rant than into his whole album. Was pretty much giving Joe some pushback about Joe's take on how to achieve longevity. And what Drake is doing is a master plan for longevity. We got to give him that. He's not the first one to do it, but the play is pretty much you have to understand the market and the new trends and collab or put yourself next to anything that's popping so you keep associating your name to relevancy. And this is how you pretty much achieve 15 years at the top. Here's what I mean by that. As soon as a movement had just started to make noise, Drake hopped on it. And given his versatility, you got to give him that. The man is very talented. He can at least do another song that's completely different from his culture, from what he knows, well enough for people to appreciate it and not call it trash, So when Afrobeat started popping, he got on that right away. When, the Caribbean sound, with the one dance, the controller and all that stuff, he got on that right away. When the UK scene started to get popping in the US, he started switching up the accent and recording with all these UK artists, right? And I can keep going. Now for the collab side, he's been featuring and putting everyone on his album that just made some noise. It doesn't matter if the guy's been relevant for 2 years or 6 months, if the guy has a #1 song or the streets say he's the guy Drake has associated himself with. That's Lil Baby, for example. Lil Baby, when he was on this crazy run with My Turn and everything, Drake reached out and he was like, yeah, come on my song, and we had Wants and Need. That's an example. On this album, he even has some features that make no goddamn sense, but just because this guy are popping, it was like, let me put them on my album so the kids and their audiences can come and check for me. The Yeet feature was awful in my opinion, and there's no reason for Drake to collab with Yeet in that type of sense. At least if you're going to collab with artists, do it like the Kendrick route when he put Kodak on his album and make Kodak come to Kendrick's world. So it doesn't look like just some culture vulture type shit. I mean, although they're all proud from hip-hop and Drake is not stealing from no one, it doesn't look authentic. That Yeet feature make no sense. Sexy Red, same stuff. Yachty, same stuff. These guys, if they're going to be used that way, just shouldn't make a Drake album in 2023, So that's Drake's play. And thanks to that, he's been able to remain on top for years and will remain on top despite the lack of quality in the music for a while now, in my opinion. And Drake is not the only one that has done this. Jay-Z has done this. Eminem has done this. Lil Wayne has done this. Rick Ross has done this when he was popping. Like, that's not new. The only difference, especially when you compare to guys like Jay-Z, is that they did not compromise to that extent. Like, it felt like they were still the leaders, and then they just collabed, or at least did a feature with some artists, like, yeah, because I like them. It felt more genuine than, for example, that Yeet feature that still, blows my mind to this day. So anyway, but still, if it comes to longevity, then yeah, Drake is 100% right. Joe Budden never was able to do this. So you should understand, and Eyes from the podcast was making the point that this is how you achieve longevity. Now, here's why I agree with Joe, is because I wouldn't be mad at an artist that's not eating or that's trying to make it to actually hop on all the trends and everything and pretty much compromise the art for money. I wouldn't be mad at that. But when you're on top, when you're up $400 or $500 million, something crazy like this, when you're so popular that regardless of what you put out, the people will listen and eat it up. I wish for this artist to actually not compromise the art for money or for fame, and to actually put out their best effort every time. And Drake, I used to be a Drake fan, just like I believe we all once were at some point. I was a Drake fan from, I want to say, 2009 to 2015. But after that, man, I don't think I've liked a single Drake album front to back. And that's just saying something. Like, this guy has been held in big three conversations. Some people call him the GOAT, which I think is lunacy, especially if you're talking hip-hop. But still, he gets all these accolades because the numbers will be there. He's been versatile and consistent enough to have the biggest audience out there. You can't take that from him. But if you look at the quality of the music, especially this album, it makes no sense. It really sounds like Drake, again, for his longevity play, caters to the audience, to the new guys, to the new formula, meaning the kids. So he dumbs it down. He keeps on talking about the same relationship with kids. I mean, you're 25, you're not a kid, but he's 37. He keeps on talking about that. He keeps on taking the quote-unquote toxic approach because now it's popular. He also stopped putting albums that really make sense, you know, bodies of works with nice sequencing and all that. He doesn't care about that. Now it's, I'm going to put out 20 to 25 tracks, different vibes, because I know the formula. I'm gonna have one song for the streets, I'm gonna have one song for the strip club, now I'm gonna have one song for the Spanish crowd, you know, because J Balvin is popping, so I'm gonna rap in Spanish, and I'm gonna put all that in the album, dump it. I'm gonna have one 8 a.m. in Charlotte, just so motherfuckers don't forget that I can rap, and just dump all of this in one album that makes no sense and put it out and be like, yeah, I'm the guy because the numbers are... I mean, you can't deny the numbers. Again, shout out to Drake for these numbers, but the quality is just not there. So I 100% agree with Joe on this. And it's rare because Joe Budden is very... I mean, he's a very smart guy, but he feels like a lot of time hate actually gets to taint his takes or whatever. But for this one, man... shout out to Joe because he kept it real. And Drake, I mean, you might be in trouble just because Joe Budden, man, the way he's going to come for you on that podcast next episode, and everyone will be watching, that shit finna be crazy. And you can't really win no quote-unquote beef against a guy who's retired, you know? So... When Drake goes out there and he goes in the booth and he raps about Joe Budden, will people care like that? I don't think so. But when Joe Budden gets on the podcast and does a rant for about 1 hour about everything that he knows about Drake, exposing with all of his great communication tactics that he has and everything, it's going to look ugly in my opinion. Now, will that affect Drake in the long run? Probably not, right? Because at this point, Drake is untouchable. His fans... He feels like he plays by a different set of rules compared to the rest of hip hop, and he has his fan base has reached such a high margin outside of hip hop that he's still gonna be all right regardless of what happens, right? But still, anyways, we're gonna close the video right here. Get in the comment section. Give me your thoughts about this whole thing. Who saw on you on Drake, Joe? Please tell me if you want to hear more music talk. I'm going to do it most definitely. It's a bunch of albums right now or recently who have come out that I've really enjoyed. So be on the lookout for more music podcasts. And please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys later. Peace.